All right. Welcome to this week's Traveling on Everyday Spend live stream. Really excited. Got a lot of things to cover, a lot of card offers, different things on Hyatt and JetBlue and British Airways. A lot of things to cover. Look forward to being able to speak with you all about that tonight. First and foremost, want to let everybody know that I will be recording this. I'll break it into chapters afterwards to make sure that you're able to easily access everything. But want to obviously thank each and every one of you all for watching this live stream or even watching the recording, the shorts, the long form videos. Really means a lot to me to get your feedback, your comments, your likes, and obviously your subscribes, and you sharing the content with people you feel that will enjoy it as much as you do. But of course, if you do find find this beneficial to you, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Really means a lot to a small channel like mine. But like I said, your feedback is what really allows me to try to provide you what you're looking for. So I want to value you and your time. So we'll go ahead and get started. I want to say hi to John. Thanks for stopping through. I've talked about John on a lot of different of these live streams. Excellent content creator, one that you definitely want to be able to take a look at. Definitely worth the time to see his different spin on this credit card content and just life in general. So definitely want to encourage you to check him out. We've got, as I mentioned, we've got a lot of things to cover. So let's go ahead and start with the agenda that we've got tonight. We're obviously going to look at the bonus offers, the transfer bonuses. We're going to obviously look at June Bilt rent day, which is interesting. Hyatt's newest brand, ATONA, which was a really interesting one that's coming up in the next couple of years for them. Capital One 360 checking bonus, a very easy checking bonus to get. And if you've got a player or two, one for them to take advantage of. My wife and I both got it. It's truly easy money, and I want to make sure to share that with you. Virgin Airlines is raising the ANA business class. We unfortunately had to experience this on the first class a while back ago, so now we're going to see it on the business side. But let's make sure we take it with a grain of salt to see really how much that's going to hurt. JetBlue and British Airways creating a partnership, and what does that mean for American Airlines and their partnership with British Airways? Bark Air is the funny story for tonight, and I'll be happy to touch on that. We're going to look at the AMEX Marriott business card, which has an historical bonus, as well as looking at a guide to Marriott Bonvoy, and we'll also look at the Hilton cards and look at Hilton, even though it's not on the agenda. That'll be a couple of bonus items for us to look at. And want to say hello to Fashion Ford, or Fishin' Ford. I think it's Fashion Ford. Thanks for stopping through, and have not forgot about the video we discussed on a previous live stream. That is coming up in 2 weeks. Just taking a little bit of time to finish it up. Want to say hello to Mr. Kukul. Thanks for stopping through. And to Renee, thank you for stopping through. Really appreciate it. But let's go and get started. We've got a lot of credit card offers that have come up now. And so we've got, for American Express, we are definitely looking at the Hilton Honors card at 70,000 points in a free night certificate for $2,000 worth of spend in the first 6 months. And all of these Hilton ones ends July 31st. We got the Hilton Surpass with 130,000 points, free night certificate with $3,000 spend in the first 6 months. And then we have the Hilton Aspire card at 175,000 points for $6,000 worth of spend in the first 6 months. That one is only $5,000 less than the best in Aspire's history. But we'll talk more about each of these cards and see if any of these ones really fit for you. Then we, of course, have the AMEX Hilton Honors Business. That one ends on June 5th to look at 175,000 points. And then we have the Marriott Bonvoy Business, who has a best in card history with 5 free night award up to 50,000 points per night with $8,000 worth of spend in the first 6 months. We'll talk about that one as well, and making sure that you understand what those certificates mean, those restrictions, and what the card may or may not be able to do for you as well. And then Chase, we have the Sapphire Preferred and the Reserve still at 75,000 points, limited time. I read in the points guide, as normally happens with these credit card offers, when they get to limited time, Chase does not give us a firm date versus American Express. And so you'll start seeing some leaking out to some of the bloggers and the websites that will kind of let us people in the points and miles game know that this is really coming up shortly. And that is what Points Guy put into his blog today. So if that is something, if you are interested in the Preferred or the Reserve, although he spoke about the Reserve, but I would consider it very short timing for both. If you're interested in those, definitely go ahead and look at pulling the trigger on that. The Freedom Flex I've mentioned, as far as if you look at it for the bonus, you're normally seeing $200, but I still can go in the incognito mode and find different grocery deals instead of the $200. The last one I saw was 5% on groceries for a year. So play around with that if you're interested in the Freedom Flex, and if you have an interest in the groceries, because normally one time a year you get to double up on them. So that may be helpful. And then British Airways, Aer Lingus, and Iberia, all three of them, which are a family for Avios, is 85,000 Avios for $5,000 worth of spend in the first 3 months. So those are the ones we're looking at for those. And then we have City, which of course we've got the Strata Premier still at $75,000 points, rather, not dollars, for the first 3 months. And then we have the City Advantage Business Card at 75,000 points for $5,000 worth of spend in the first 5 months. So all of those ones definitely worth looking at. And so I want to make sure to get that passed on to you all. Want to say hello to Call Me Lonnie. Appreciate you stopping through, sir. And to also to Matt, stopping through. Two very excellent content creators in this field. Hope the short turnaround, the CSP and CSR, is indicative of an update soon, but it's more likely to witness porcupine fight. Yeah, I'm not expecting an update soon. I agree with you. I think it's just a matter of moving it along. So that's what we have for the bonus offers. As far as the May transfer bonuses, we haven't seen any changes since the last live stream, but definitely be aware. Virgin Atlantic Flying Club, 30% through American Express through May 31st. They also have it through Chase through June 15th. Neither of these are historic. This is really kind of more my suggestion as far as the topping off if you need to, but not necessarily something to strive to move your points there if you don't have something specific going on. Aero Mexico, 20%, not much to talk about on that one going through May 31st. Marriott Bonvoy at 40% could be a top-off opportunity, especially as you are looking at this credit card deal for the business one. That may be something of benefit. And then for City, Qatar, and Turkish Miles and Smiles, both of them are being offered through the airline. So it's not just the simple transfer and you get your points immediately. There is some time that's involved in with that. I'll put links for each of those if you have an interest in going through that, as far as getting them through Qatar or for Turkish. So I will make sure to get that to you as well. So let's take a look at June Bilt Rent Day. It's an interesting one. As far as what's going on, they've obviously been doing the rent day trivia, 5 trivia questions at 10, 20, 30, and 40, 50 points. And then if you get it correct, the 5 correct, you get a 6 for 100 points. So the reality of being able to get a quick 250 points doesn't hurt, and it might be a little fun. So something to look at. They continue to do the Soul Cycle ride for that one. That began at noon today on a first come first serve basis. So there may be slots available. Not totally sure if that's something you're interested in. at a few different, over 50 different locations around the United States. And they are still offering one participating rider up to $2,500 to cover their monthly rent. So if you're a cycler, might as well go ahead and do it, see what you might be able to get from that. And then they have the rent-free game. That's kind of a Family Feud-based game, but you must play by June 1st at 3 p.m., and then it will be played at 4 o'clock, so to see what points you got and if you may have won. So take a look at that. Bilt brunch experience, of course, it's not for everybody. It's good. It's basically New York City, LA, Boston, and Chicago. They do that in tiers. And I think that has already been done. That was done yesterday, I believe. So if you were there and weren't able to get into it, that's what the situation is with that. Neighborhood dining is kind of their big push for this time. If you are a blue or silver status person with Bilt, you'll get 5 bonus points on rent day towards one of the participating restaurants. And then if you are gold or platinum, you'll get an additional 10 points. So this is in addition to the 6 points you'll get on rent day. So you're looking at either 11 points or 16 points for dining per dollar. And so they've expanded this. So what you may have seen was in your area before may have changed. I looked at mine and where I live, and there are now a couple of places that I would never have thought were part of the dining experience. And I'm actually going to try one on the 1st because the points are that high. So definitely take a look at that. And so as I put in the remembering thing, number 1, make sure you get your 5 transactions in if you have the Bilt credit card during your billing cycle. And I would recommend if rent day is obviously part of your billing cycle and you don't have your 5 in, look at the expenses that you don't normally get more than 2x on. So for me, it's my car insurance, it's my electric, it's my gas for the house. And so that gets me 3 of them, let alone a couple of subscriptions I make sure to pay for. Get it all out of the way, knowing that I'm getting at least 2x on everything. And so it makes it worth it, gets it out of the way. So that may be something you want to look at if that fits for you as well. But get the most you can out of this. Number 2, you do not need to have a Bilt credit card to participate in this Bilt Rewards program. So sometimes people do lose track that you don't have to. So even if you don't have the card, you can enroll in Bilt Rewards. And that's where I ended up starting before my wife got the Bilt card. And that was back when a couple of different promotions were going on. So it's definitely worth it, even if you don't have the card. Third, if you're going to do the neighborhood dining, you have to register. Make sure that you go into your Bilt Rewards and click on that and get registered so you don't lose out on any of those points. The 4th item is be sure to confirm the end time. When I activated mine, I actually got, mine was through June 2nd at 3 a.m. So it did give a little bit of overflow off of the 1st. So make sure when you do yours for neighborhood dining, make sure to pay attention to the date and time that it has. Don't just assume it's the 1st. You might get a little bit of extra time if you have a late meal or a late stay at a restaurant. And then lastly, for the neighborhood dining, as I mentioned, be sure to check your list because it may be different than what you may even seen just last week. So definitely want to make sure you have everything you need to know for the June Bilt Day. One thing that I did take a look at, because I've mentioned probably in a couple of live streams that when are we going to see those great bonuses for those travel, for those partner transfers? And I went back and looked at all of what has happened since Bilt Rent Day started. And it kind of put me back in a better place of understanding that I think I got so swept up of seeing these great transfers that they were happening all the time, but they really aren't. If you look at it, we had since October 2022, when this started, you basically had the IHG transfer bonus in December of 2022. You had Hawaiian in February of 2023. You had the, to me now, the famous Hyatt status one that was done in April of 2023. I think a lot of people was able to take advantage of the Hyatt status. I was able to get to globalist. Don't think I'm going to be able to keep it, but it has allowed me to do a few different things, especially being able to hold reservations without using your points. So that I hope that we'll see that again at some point. Then we had May of 2023. We had the Air France KLM transfer bonus. Then you got to go to August of 23 for Virgin Red transfer bonus, and then the IHG Virgin and Air France transfer bonus in January of 2024, and Air Canada in February 2024. So hopefully that kind of helps you out. For me, it kind of just reminded me that there's only so many times they can do that, and so they've kind of spaced them out. So maybe we will see something come up in the near future, maybe in the fall. We're tied to Alaska, but hopefully you all haven't been like me wondering when is it going to happen and why hasn't it happened. But that kind of helped me just to kind of put things in perspective. So hopefully that helps you all too. Want to see, and I want to thank Lonnie and John and Matt for as far as the 300 subs. Really appreciate it, and definitely want to thank each and every one of you all that likes and watches and chooses to subscribe. It's really been quite the interesting 3 months or so of being in this. So really can't thank you all enough for that. And Fashion Forward says, my property just switched to the Bilt platform. Don't have the credit card, but looking forward to earning some other perks within the program. Yeah. And being on the platform gives you some options if you want them to report to your credit bureau, if you want to. I remember there was a question from someone that was that I had that was trying to make sure that they didn't do that. But it is an opt-in program if you want to. But yeah, definitely take advantage of these Bilt rewards, card or no card. So I want to talk about Hyatt's newest brand, which is ATONA. And I thought this was a very interesting thing that Hyatt was looking at doing, one that I had not heard of. So back in 2022, I read Hyatt announced a plan to launch a new brand in Japan. Now, this was actually, I believe, from the 1 Mile at a Time blog, so I have to give them their credit for this. But now in 2024, now we have some new information. So Hyatt has entered into a joint venture with Kirikou for the launch of this ATONA brand. It's described by them as an expression of deep connection of two Japanese words, which mean me and you. Now, their plan is going to center around modern style onsen, which is for hot springs, ryokans, which is Japanese style inns, and will offer kind of a bespoke experience. That's all we kind of know at this point. But by 2026, they're going to be looking at having properties to open in Hakone, Yakushima, and Yufu. Now, I kind of looked up because I was kind of interested of where these were located. So for Hakone, it's kind of a mountainous town area about southeast portion of the Japanese mainland island. They're already known for hot spring resorts. I kind of looked it up and saw that there are currently 19 different locations for one-day visits to an onsen. So obviously a perfect location for them to be able to look at doing that. Yokoshima appears to be a small island south of the mainland island of Japan, and it is known for wildlife and cedar forests that have trees that are over 1,000 years old. Excellent setting for this type of inn as well. And then Yufu is in the northern portion of the main Japan and is kind of a high mountain region. Found these very interesting. So far, they're going to be independently managed to try to ensure the combination of Japanese culture and international hotel standards. In the ATONA fund that they have, they've already accumulated 10 billion yen which is about $64 million. And that's about halfway of the goal. So my quick thoughts on this: very different kind of setting, away from the main Tokyo and any of those major areas. Really going to set aside for really what has a chance to be an outstanding kind of experience and away from things that I think is really different about what Hyatt might do. What we don't know is when they refer to the term of a Japanese inn, where does this fall on the Hyatt level? Is it kind of a mid-level? Is it going to be considered a higher level type as far as the points that are involved? And we do expect it to be a part of World of Hyatt so that we can use points. So if you've had any interest in looking at potentially going to Japan, but wanted maybe a different experience, this may be something that could be something you'll look for and could enjoy. So want to make sure to pass that on to you all as far as Hyatt's newest brand, and should be able to see it by about 2026 is what we're looking at. The next item is this $250 Capital One checking bonus. Now, as I mentioned, this is something that my wife and I have got about a year ago. So for you'll get paid $250 when you open a checking account with a direct deposit of $500 or more twice in the first 75 days of opening the account. Now, there's no fees or minimum balance that is required on that checking account. And you will receive the bonus within 60 days after you complete those requirements. Now, I will say that if you've had an open 360 checking account, a Simply checking account, Total Control checking, or a Money Team checking account as a primary or a secondary account holder on or after January 1st of 2022, you won't be eligible for the bonus. As I mentioned, we've got it. So she's got her own checking account. I do as well, just for this purpose. And it was very smooth, very quick, and we don't keep a whole lot of money in it in each of our accounts. But we don't pay fees, and it works out just fine. Now, I would say as far as Capital One defines a qualifying direct deposit as regular periodic payments such as your salary, a pension, government payments such as Social Security, or other monthly income that would occur through an ACH or real-time payment network credit from your employer or an outside institution. It's a lot to say. What I would end up saying is, if you can do it, if you easily can do it through salary, pension, or Social Security, something to consider. And I did see that Doctor of Credit has a lot of different, at least from a lot of people that have participated, that have talked about what might qualify for these type of direct deposits. These are just feedback from a lot of his viewers. There's no guarantee. Some of them are old, but I will put a link for that if that is something you want to look at. But as far as from a Capital One standpoint, can help with building a great relationship with Capital One if you want one, as well as pairing that with their high yield savings account, which I've touched on in a previous video, where some people may want to get the high yield savings account and may look at having a checking account with that person as well. I'll make sure to put some links for Doctor of Credit, as well as for the couple of those videos related to Capital One that hopefully will be helpful. But want to pass that on to you as well. And Kiki Adventures, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thanks for stopping through. So something to consider. It is a very easy checking account bonus. And if you are a person that may churn checking account ones, this one is a pretty easy one from what I've seen, although I do still have mine. But I want to make sure to pass that on to you all. So as far as topic 6, we are looking at Virgin Airlines and raising the fees on at least the award redemptions on the ANA business class. So just over a year ago, we had this essentially happen with the first class, and we saw some increases that was as much as 40%. for this. Now, what ended up happening last Wednesday night on the 22nd, they updated Virgin and ANA, updated the chart and showed some increases of up to 25% or more. The problem was that it became effective the very next day. And of course, we do have 30% transfer bonuses as well. So with a little bit more of lead time, some people, if they were looking to do something with ANA, could have made some moves on it, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case for any of us. So a couple of redemption increases showed from the West Coast to Japan, went from 45,000 to 52,500 points, which is about a 16% increase. Chicago or JFK, 47,500 to 60,000, which represented a 26% increase. And then Honolulu, 35,000 to 37,500. Just some quick thoughts. It's unfortunate timing if anybody was really looking to pull the trigger on something with ANA in the near future. For me, my mindset, and it may be different from many, is this is just kind of what happens. Sometimes we just catch the bad end of these kind of situations. And yes, nobody wants to end up giving up more points than you need to. But I think for hopefully the mindset for many is, yes, we went up 16, 26%, give or take, and we ended up going up 7 to 12,000 points. But if that's still a trip that you can secure, that is still an amazing deal. It's just not quite as amazing as it used to be, but it's still an amazing deal. So that's kind of where I take with these type of devaluations or changes. We still get to do so when we are maximizing our points. There is so much we can be able to accomplish with points, whether you're doing it all in points or you're leveraging it for part of your trip. There's just so much you can do with it. So I hope that everybody can kind of take a good view of that situation, even though it was kind of a bit unfortunate. So want to pass that. JetBlue and British Airways ended up creating a relationship. This was another one on 1 mile at a time that I want to give them credit for. So JetBlue and British Airways filed to code share, which basically allows them to tie together with one another on how they will be able to advertise or show each other's flights on their platform. So there were 92 routes that are in this initial code share. And so JetBlue will be code sharing on 17 of British Airways flights from London Heathrow to other European destinations. And then British Airways will code share on 75 of JetBlue flights from JFK and Boston to other multiple US locations. Now, one thing that I ended up seeing was that I wasn't aware of before is that American and JetBlue originally had a relationship, and it was part of what was called the Northeast Alliance back in early 2021. By September 2022, unfortunately, the Department of Justice for the United States filed to block the alliance, and that block is still being litigated right now. For American, they need to be able to get to and maximize there on the East Coast, which they don't do much at all at this point, and that is being able to do their sharing. And they were basically the part of the issue was the fact that it was the thought that American and JetBlue was basically going against Delta, who was starting to go into Latin America, and so they had an issue of trying to kind of squeeze Delta out a bit. At least that's from the Department of Justice's view on that. So it's still being litigated. So it included exchanging slots and coordinating their routes, and supposedly lessened the availability for the general consumer. Now, the question is, what does this do as far as the relationship with American and British Airways? British Airways wants to be able to get into the United States and then start being able to get around all over the place once they get to the East Coast. American's Northeast Alliance was supposed to help do that, but that failed. Now being able to work with JetBlue, they're going to be able to do that. At least that's the intention. And JetBlue will benefit from getting to London Heathrow and start getting more into Europe, which they've not been able to do. So, but we haven't heard that this was something that the British Airways and American kind of signed off together on. So does that mean that there's any kind of issue between the two of them? We'll obviously have to see how this plays out, but it should be beneficial to any of us that are looking at getting better connections from British Airways into the United States, as well as going JetBlue going into Europe. So definitely would be interested in you all's thoughts on that. I see that Matt's kind of given a couple of thoughts. Excited if this goes through, pick up my BA miles along the way. Completely agree. Wouldn't mind JetBlue joining One World at this point. Yeah, it's very interesting on how JetBlue really isn't tied to anybody, and they just have kind of some spot partnerships. And that's something I continue to learn about on this. So these avios are really continuing to become more and more popular as you're looking at Aer Lingus and you're looking at British Airways, you're looking at Iberia, now you're looking at Finnair, you're looking at Qatar. So this Avios is really kind of spreading nicely for us to be able to use, and because they're so easy to be able to get a hold of. And even if you don't have Qatar, which is limited, you can still transfer from British Airways to Qatar or British Airways to Finnair. So I think there's going to be a lot to be said for the Avios that's going to be involved in this. But want to make sure to pass that on to you all. Topic 8 is the fun topic for tonight. Bark Air. So it's a new public charter service for humans traveling with their dogs. Tickets are sold on shared flights, and the plane is run by a third party. Of course, you get to fly on a Gulfstream G500, because I know we're all prepared to do that. Now, the current operation only runs from New York to essentially LA, but it's Westchester County Airport, which would be near the New York, and then Van Nuys Airport near LA, and then as well as the New York location to London, which is Biggin Hill Airport near London. The plane normally, if you were taking a Gulfstream 550, would normally be able to fly 15 people. Bark has reduced that to 10 humans, but you could bring any dog of any breed or size to be on the plane. The cabin description that they talked about is basically comforting aids with pheromone, music, warm lavender, scented refreshment towels to make the experience great. And all it's going to cost you if you're flying from New York City to LA is only going to cost you $6,000 one way. They fly one time a week, so coordinate your schedule. Will only cost you $6,000. And if you want to fly to London, just $2,000 more, $8,000 one way. So if you love your dog, why not pony up, get a loan, $6,000, $8,000. Now, the funny thing aside, pet transportation overall really needs to have some better options. I don't have a pet myself, but my son has one, and being able to easily bring his dog back to visit us is either you're driving or you don't. Don't want to trust having it. It's not small enough to be able to fly under your seat in an airline, and don't feel comfortable about obviously having him in the bottom of the plane. So that being able to create some of those, I've actually looked up to see if there were other options, and I only kind of came across one, which was basically kind of a van that was set up just for dogs, to put them in a nice environment, and then they would travel across the mainland United States. It seemed good, but there wasn't a lot of information about it to feel good to even try it. So while this is some ridiculously high amount of money to do it, hopefully maybe there can be some thoughts or some ideas of doing something that may be a little bit more economical for people that do want to transport their pets and to see their granddads, such as myself. So Wanted to kind of throw that out to you for that. HPN is now an international card. I actually looked at that, and obviously international is a very loose word these days. And I see there was another one. Granted, it does support Bermuda Air, so there's that. So that definitely must make it international. So, but that's kind of the Bark Air kind of funny topic, but an interesting topic that I thought I would share with you all tonight. So topic 9, let's jump into Marriott Bonvoy Business American Express. Now, I've talked about business cards, and business cards may not be for what everybody wants to do. So this is not necessarily selling you on business credit cards, but just a couple things to keep in mind. When I got my first business credit card, I didn't have an LLC. I used my own social security number. I didn't have a business established yet. I hadn't even started anything. It was just a thought in my head of what I wanted to do. And I saw that there was some very great bonuses on business credit cards. And so because as long as you got at least an idea of what you want to be able to do, on my first application, I put down that I believed I would earn, and once again, you can even guess, I believed I was going to earn $2,000 in a year. But as long as you've got a good relationship, a good credit score, you can get a business credit card. And in my case, and I can't promise the same for everybody, but in my case, my first one was with American Express. Once that happened, every other time I applied for a business credit card, there was nothing going on. There was no going back to check, hey, how much money did your business make? It was fine. And so if there's an interest for a business credit card, start slow if you want to. They obviously, the biggest benefits are it's not on your personal credit. They have a lot higher bonuses in some cases. Does require more spend though. So I definitely am not saying this is necessarily something to go crazy on. But if you feel that there may be something there for you, there's not something to fear about looking at a business credit card. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out. I'll put a couple links for the business credit cards that I had kind of talked about on a previous one, just so that you can get a feel of it. It's something that may fit for what you might want to do if you're just tiptoeing into this. Let's see, John throughout some, not such a rough way to travel the bus. Not a bad way for anybody to travel on a Gulfstream. So I'm all for it. Just got to get that loan for that $6,000 one way, and maybe I'll get back the following year. So as far as the Marriott Bonvoy Business Amex, $125 annual fee. You get 5 free night awards up to $50,000 per night for $8,000 worth of spend in the first 6 months. Ends July 10th. If you take the valuation from the points guy, you're at 80.85 cents per point. You're looking at a value of $2,125. Now, we'll temper what that value is because that's based upon points, not these certificates. I probably would tech it down a little bit because you've got restrictions with that certificate, when you got to get them used by. And so because of those restrictions, not worth as much, but even if you give a reduction for it, you're still talking about $125 for an annual fee. And while I also don't look at getting airline or hotel credit cards if you're just starting off, the reality is for this card or for any of these cards where you see these kind of things, if it can fit within your year to be able to use these, use a bonus potentially like this, you've now basically provided your hotel stay for 1 or 2 different trips. And that kind of moves everything as far as I'm concerned. So something to kind of look at regarding this card and that 5 free night award. You get 6x on purchases at hotels participating in the Marriott Bonvoy program. You'll also get 4x on, and this is, must stress this, US based gas stations, wireless telephone services, US purchases for shipping, and global dining. 2x on everything else. American Express is historically making sure that your gas, groceries, a lot of different purchases are only US based. So definitely keep that in mind. You will get gold elite status with this, and you can get a free night award of a 35,000 point value with, of course, if you just spend $60,000 worth of spend in a calendar year. Definitely not recommending that unless you're really doing some multi-million-dollar business. And you also get 15 elite night credits. See, we got a message from Jose. This card was my first business card a few years ago. Yeah, I never did get the Marriott card. I ended up getting the Hilton one. And of course, that's going through some changes right now. But this is something that really piques my interest. The only concern I've got is, can I get those free night awards flipped quick enough to use them? And that's sometimes the forgotten thing when we get to free night certificates and free night awards. When you go for this, and it's really easy and quick to go after these, just make sure you've got a plan of that you're going to be able to use it in a timely fashion, especially if you're a person like me that has a 40-hour work week and have limited vacation time where you don't get to fully have complete freedom to do this. So something to keep in mind for that. To point, yep, they do give you a year. You're right about that. The only issue with that year is, from the time of issuance, is that you definitely, hopefully you've already kind of looked at where you want it to go, what period of the year that you want it to go, and do you see the standard room nights available to be able to use those, and do you need to top off at all so that you can figure out those points. But yes, a year is a lot of time. You just want to make sure that you do have it planned out, though. Now, of course, and unfortunately, you get Marriott when it comes when it's Amex. You've got these intro bonus eligibility that you have to be aware of. Now, I'm taking all of this directly from the language of the Marriott Bonvoy terms and conditions. So first, if you have or have had the card already, or the Starwood Preferred Guest Business Credit Card, now the language says you may not be eligible for it, which normally is going to end up meaning you're not eligible for it. May not, I think, might give a little bit of gray area, but you can try it. But it's probably, if you've had it before, even if whether you got the bonus or not, you're probably not going to be eligible for it. So keep that in mind. Now, you're not eligible if you have had any of the following cards in the last 30 days: the Marriott Bonvoy Premier Plus Business, the Marriott Rewards Premier Plus Business, the Marriott Bonvoy Business, or the Marriott Rewards Business Credit Card. These were all Chase credit cards. So in the past, so if you've had these in the last 30 days, you're not eligible. Now, if you've acquired the following credit cards in the last 90 days, you're also not eligible. And that is going to be the Chase credit cards of Bonvoy Bountiful, Bonvoy Boundless, and Bonvoy Bold. So if you've had those in the last 90 days, not eligible. Lastly, if you received a new card member bonus on any of these Chase cards in the last 24 months, you're not eligible. Same cards: Bountiful, Bonvoy, Boundless, as well as the Bold. Now, what you want to make sure to keep in mind is we're still in May. You may find that and because this offer ends July 10th, you may see where you have enough of a window, if you're in a gray area, where you still may be eligible for the card. So make sure to check your dates if you are that close, to see if you are going to be eligible. But that's the language we're dealing with. But if you've ever had an interest in a card for business, and obviously you're not counting towards Chase 524 or Capital One's 624 when you're doing business cards, it's something to look at. Whether you've already had business credit cards or if you want to take a step into this, because the payoff is so great on this. But I just want to pass this on to you also. Like I said, I'll put a couple of links for business credit card videos that I've done on this, and maybe it'll be of help to you. But definitely feel free to ask any questions or comment, whether on this live stream or afterwards, and I'll make sure to answer my questions on it. At this point, I've got probably one, two, three, four. I think I have 4 business cards through Amex, and then my wife handles the Chase side, and I think we've got about 8 business credit cards through them. But the beauty of almost all of those cards, those 10 to 12 cards I'm mentioning, I think there's only annual fees on like 2 of them. The rest are no annual fee. So there's no harm, no foul, whether I use them or don't use them. So just to kind of throw that out there for you to hopefully make sure that you're not overly concerned. Now, as far as the free night award, which we've kind of just talked about as far as the restriction on it, you get to earn to earn those 5 bonus free nights. You must not be. Now, this is one part I did not know until I read this. Maybe others did know. To earn the 5 bonus free nights, you must not be past due on that credit card at the time of fulfillment. Now, we obviously expect that nobody's going to be past due. You're hopefully you're paying it off in full. Worst case scenario, you've at least paid the minimum, but definitely be aware of that because you could literally lose those 5 certificates just by being past due. So keep that in mind. Now, the resort fees may be applicable depending upon where you're going to use it. It's not a universal where the resort fees do not apply. So make sure you look at that as you do your planning. Upon qualifying, you will receive the awards in your account within 8 to 12 weeks. Now, that obviously puts you at 2 to 3 months. Your 1-year clock starts once they're issued. So once again, plan ahead to where you're looking at. And because it's within a year, you can easily look at the hotels, the resorts that you're looking at to potentially use that certificate at without having any issues regarding it. So plan ahead. Of course, the awards expire 1 year after issuance, and they're not going to extend it. This, just like the Hilton free night, they are not extending those. So you must get them done within that year. Now, Marriott has a really nice program of stay for 5, pay for 4, but that does not apply when you have these certificates. You cannot use those to get the 5th night free. So once again, keep that in mind. And then lastly, you can top off these certificates with up to 15,000 points per night. Now, you're going to earn, spending that $8,000 in the 6 months, you're going to end up accumulating some points that you can use towards adding on if you are looking at something that's going to be in the over that 50,000 point per night. But keep that all in mind when it comes to this credit card. So I hope that helps if it is anything you're considering. Now, I did want to provide a little bit of information with Marriott Bonvoy. And so this Marriott Bonvoy business card, as well as if you have the Amex Platinum, you automatically get gold status. And so for Marriott Bonvoy, you're going to get 25% bonus points. You get the ultimate reservation guarantee. And what that is that if you have a reservation and for some reason they don't have a room for you, for whatever reason that they screwed up, they will pay for a room for you comparable nearby that they will take care of. Now, I've not had to use that. I've only stayed at Marriott a few times, but it's a nice touch for just in case. They'll provide a welcome bonus per stay at most hotels at 500 points, and you'll get 250 points at a few others And then if you're staying at a City Express, there are no points involved. You'll get enhanced room upgrade, which normally means higher floors, corner rooms, etc. And you'll also get a 2 p.m. late checkout if available. If you get Platinum Elite status, now that comes with automatically with the AMEX Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant credit card, which I believe is at $650 for an annual fee. They up the bonus points to 50%. You'll get a choice of bonus depending upon the brand that you're staying at. You'll get automatic lounge access, 4 p.m. late checkout. You'll get an annual gift choice if you're staying after over 50 nights. You'll get Singapore KrisFlyer Silver status for 12 months with the fast track to gold. You'll get Emirates priority check-in and boarding. And then lastly, you'll get Hertz fast track to 5-star program. Now, if you have the Amex Platinum, you're already going to get 5-star anyway, but something to keep in mind. And then the Titanium, there's not a credit card that will get you Titanium status automatically. Now, you could look at getting the business credit card and one personal Marriott credit card, such as the Brilliant, and put yourself essentially to Titanium status, or darn near close, I believe. I think you might get it. That one, in addition to those, you'll get complimentary United Mileage Plus Premier Silver status. You'll get the Hertz 5-star status and a 75% bonus points for that. So the sweet spot, obviously, which we can get, is the gold status. In the platinum, depending upon how often you're staying at Marriott for that. So something to keep in mind, unless you're truly a road warrior that is going to be staying a lot of times at Marriott. And then, of course, Ambassador Elite, not a whole lot more to it. You do get your 24, which is basically you get to choose your check-in and check-out time based upon the 24 hours. So it's not like you're going to say, I want to check in at 8 a.m. and I still want the same standard late checkout. It's not that way, but you get to pick that for that yourself, pick for yourself. And then you also get ambassador service, which is basically a concierge. And then you get Hertz President Circle. So that's kind of the statuses that come with Marriott if you're not really familiar with it. So something to keep in mind for that. Now, of course, the other thing we have is we have the AMEX Hilton credit cards that have a lot to it. And so I won't try to belabor saying every single thing on here. But we've got the Honors Amex, the Honors Surpass, the Honors Aspire credit card. And then we also had talked about the Hilton Business card. So I won't necessarily go into too depth with that one. But the Honors, you get 70,000 points for just $2,000 worth of spend in the first 6 months on that card. No annual fee. You get 7x on Hilton, 5x on U.S. dining, U.S. groceries, U.S. gas, 3x on everything else. You'll get silver status with Hilton, purchase protection, and secondary CDW. If you're just kind of taking your first dip in the water with this is an excellent option, especially if you're not sure how often you're going to stay at Hilton's, because you don't have an annual fee. So if this doesn't work out, no problem. You spent $2,000, but you got 70,000 points for this, and you're getting a free night certificate. So that's what I would kind of throw out to consider. Now we have the Hilton Honor Surpass. That's $150. You get 130,000 points for $3,000 worth of spend in the first 6 months. 12x on Hilton hotels and resorts, 6x U.S. dining, groceries, and gas, 4x on U.S. online retail, 3x on everything else. You do get gold status. You'll get free night after spending $15,000 in a calendar year. So you can get a free night certificate on this card with that spend. You'll get National Car Rental Emerald executive status. You'll get a $200 Hilton credit. Unfortunately, is $50 per quarter. You'll get baggage insurance as well as an extended warranty. This card, if you don't mind the annual fee and you believe that you will stay at Hilton a few times, then potentially that Hilton credit can cover the annual fee. I don't stay at Hilton a lot. I did surprise myself and got a $50 credit when I did stay at Hilton for a few days that I completely forgot about. But that is, but with that plus with everyday spend, may be able to work for you. Obviously, you're not normally going to spend your dining, your groceries, your gas on this card. This is really just a card to get your points and use the Gold Elite status, and then use it if you're going to stay at a Hilton. But that may work for you for a $150 fee. The Hilton Aspire, which most people have heard about, $550 annual fee, 175,000 points for $6,000 worth to spend in the first 6 months. You don't get a free night certificate because it comes with a free night certificate, so they didn't double up on it, unfortunately. 14x on the Hilton hotel, 7x on travel for airlines directly, travel through the AMEX portal, as well as US dining, and then 3x on everything else. With this card, you get top tier status as Diamond. And as I mentioned, you get the free night award with keeping the card each year. $400 Hilton credit, but on this one, it's $200 every 6 months instead of $50 or what we saw on the Surpass quarterly. You get the $200 flight credit, and that, of course, unfortunately, that one is broken out per quarter. And then you get the Clear credit, which I am all for, love Clear. And then you'll get a $100 property credit with a 2-night stay at either a Waldorf Astoria or Conrad, as well as trip delay and cancellation. The Hilton Aspire, it's not a card I have right now. I've considered it because of what it can do. I've seen people that get multiple Aspire credit cards because they're going to fully maximize that free night award. But all of these are very good deals. If there's something that fits with you, now, of course, this is one that's going to take up a 524 or 624 slot. So that's something you have to factor in as well. But if you see a certain pathway where those points are really going to do something for you, or that you stay at Hilton enough where the credit card is going to benefit you, something worth considering based upon these intro bonuses. As far as a quick note, as far as what gold and diamond kind of do, you get the gold with the American Amex Surpass, which we talked about. The Aspire is wrong. I shouldn't have had that in there. The business card, you get the gold, as well as Amex Platinum. What you're going to be, now, if you get the Hilton Amex credit card, then you can get it with additional spend. The main thing I want to point out on here is room upgrades when available, as well as the daily food and beverage credit. Now, the food and beverage credit depends on the brand that you're going to be in. So if you are like at a Conrad, you're looking at maybe about $25 as far as a credit. I've stayed at DoubleTree, and that's normally been about $10 for food and beverage. So it's a nice touch for something that comes with it. I do normally get room upgrades, nothing dramatic, but it's a nice little touch. And then as far as the diamond status, as we talked about, the Aspire will get you there by itself. Premium Wi-Fi, 48-hour room guarantee. You'll get elite status gifting. You'll get executive lounge access where it applies, as well as space available upgrades up to a 1-bedroom suite. So those are things to kind of look at. And then as far as the free night award, it's eligible at almost all locations except various Hilton Club, Hilton Grand Vacation, and Hilton Vacation Clubs. Valid for 1 year from the date of issuance, not going to be extended. You get it for any place where it has a standard, as long as you can find standard room availability, it's eligible. Back in 2022, when COVID, of course, was going on, they've moved it from being only something you could use on the weekend to use every day, and they've kept that. And of course, Hilton now has their relationship with the small luxury hotels, and these free night awards will be able to get used. We don't know what the pool is going to be, but this could be very valuable, especially for maybe some of these boutique hotels that might be for small luxury hotels. So something to look at that. Um, and this was the other part of that we don't necessarily need to touch on, because the silver status is what did come with the baseline Amex. So the Amex Honors Card with no annual fee. So I will touch on that. 2 bottles of water upon arrival. You get the ability to roll over your elite nights. 15% off of spa discounts if you're staying at an all-inclusive. And so so it gives you some very basic benefits, which definitely does not hurt. So I want to make sure to do that. And as far as some of these free night, if you really wanted to truly maximize a free night certificate, Waldorf Astoria in the Maldives, Standard Villa, which is a reef villa, it is over 3,000 square feet. The per night cost on that room is between $2,000 and $2,800. The Waldorf Astoria Los Cabos, only 119 rooms and suites, but each has its own private plunge pool and an ocean view, as well as getting a bottle of Clase Azul Resposada. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. If it's that might be $100 bottle. Large size room at 856 square feet, anywhere from $980 to $5,000 per night. And then last one, Grand Wailea, obviously in Hawaii, $950 to $2,000. So there are some great redemptions you can do on this, but once again, it's only one night. So if you're going to a destination and you're going to really maximize this, you're still coming out of pocket with a lot of money. Now, what you can look at doing with these Hilton ones, if you thought you were going to put something together and you truly know what you're going to do, you could look at getting multiple cards for that possibility. So just different things to keep in mind. Hilton points are very easy to get, from the hotel stays to the credit cards to spending, credit card spending, the partners, or you can buy points if necessary. You get obviously the introduction of the small luxury hotels, even increases the value of these free night certificates. And like I said, be aware and careful of these. It's only one night. I would love to be able to go to the Maldives, but I do not have $6,000 to $8,000 to spend to stay there 3 days or 4 days. So keep those things in mind for that. But that's kind of what I'm kind of looking at for this week. I don't know if anybody's got questions, comments, or thoughts on any of these things, any of these items. Definitely more than happy to talk with you all about anything or thoughts, or where you all see where you all might be able to use, or maybe these aren't the best things for you. But a lot of things going on, a lot to be able to look at. But want to make sure I give everybody a chance if there are any questions or topics or thoughts. If not, then I always like this Walt Disney phrase: the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. Take action for whatever you want to be able to accomplish. If you don't ever get started, nothing will ever will ever end up happening. So I want to thank each and every one of you all for being on the live stream. Like I said, I will get this cut up into chapters. But thank you all so much, and really appreciate you all's participation and being here. And I will look forward to seeing you all later. Thank you so much.